chairs are just sitting on right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Share. As a reminder, none of what you will hear is financial advice, and this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So we have decided to try a bit shorter format content for the next few weeks or months. We will see how this works and then adapt accordingly. But we won't be releasing a long form episode this week or the upcoming weeks, and instead, again, be releasing shorter formats to be able also to be closer to the news and give you more up-to-date information of what is happening in the market.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, exactly. So I think it makes more sense for us to pivot a little bit and give you like more actual news faster. Let's kick it off right away with some price actions, I think. So last time we talked, we were talking the post MSTR earnings. And here I thought we had a pretty decent earnings coming from strategy. However, on Friday, we saw the price plummet, and maybe it's not fully related to the earnings because there was also some macro news happening. So the whole markets, the TradFi markets were also going down, right? And I think it brought down MSTR as well and the other Bitcoin treasury companies. Also, although other Bitcoin treasury companies have also been hammered down throughout the last few weeks. And here, I think it's interesting to probably have an overview of what's been happening. In the meantime, yesterday, Monday, we had more bullish sentiment, so the price action seemed to be more positive, and now we see a little bit MSTR recovering and some other Bitcoin treasuries as well. Maybe not all. Metaplanet is still going down a little bit, but good to see a little relief. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have some additional thoughts here or initial thoughts, Quentin.
No, I think you said it all. The earnings call was probably not timed perfectly because, as you said, we had some macro headwinds as well then on Friday. But probably also the price went down because of earnings. I think there were very high expectations of this earnings call. It was hyped up a bit as well. So maybe going into that call, the expectations were very high of some very special announcements, and there were some very good announcements like that we discussed, like that they won't be hitting the ATM under 2.5 MNAV, for example. So that's what was surprising, I think, to most to have such clear guidance. But still, it was not the bombshell moment that probably some expected. And we also saw that probably the EPS, the high EPS miss was priced in at the end of the day because it did not surprise to the upside that the miss was so big. So
yeah, I mean, I would argue that it's still not priced in my opinion. I know that the market decides, and I remain humble on this, and I don't think to know better. But I think we will still see a repricing over the next months and quarters, actually, as MSTR keeps hitting those earnings and probably those estimates miss and beats. And here, I also think I saw some interesting takes on X, where probably one of the biggest misconceptions is because of the lack of cash flows, right? That MSTR has in terms of their guidance and then also their earnings or future cash flows, if you will. So because all of their earnings are coming from Bitcoin appreciation, which is normal. And I think the market still needs to digest that we're shifting from this kind of expected cash flow narrative to more financial strength in the balance sheet. And I think it was Jeff Walton who had some interesting posts here. And I would encourage anybody to follow him and to look into it, because I think those were some really interesting takes.
Yeah, he compares the earnings compared to Apple or Palantir that had great earnings and the beat and that stock going up a lot because of that. And comparing to strategy, you see that strategy is mispriced if you look at the the income statement and what the earnings was basically of those companies compared to strategy. But as you said, maybe it will take a few more quarters or maybe even longer to realize that this was not just a one-time beat of strategy, but that with Bitcoin appreciating over time, this will continue to happen consistently, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just to point out though, the graphs that Jeff Walton was showing with the earnings on a Bitcoin basis, you see the trend line, right? Over quarter, the trend line is going down because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is appreciating faster than the earnings. So whereas on the contrary, you have MSTR that's able to accumulate always more Bitcoin, at least up until now, quarter. So that's going up. So the trend line here is different than the TradFi companies, I would say. So that's also interesting to take away.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was quite a bit of panic, I think, in the market on Friday, but then also going into the weekend. But as you said, the recovery was quite good then already over the weekend for Bitcoin, but then also following up on that on Monday in the market and strategy bouncing back and Bitcoin also now around 115. It's I mean a month ago 115 was all-time high, right? So it's not that we're in the depth of a bear market, but the sentiment is quite bad currently, and especially around Bitcoin treasury companies, because as you said, the MNAVs are compressing significantly, and those stocks are getting hammered right now. We have you mentioned Metaplanet. It went from around 2,000 yen to now under 900, or it hit 900 today, so more than a 50% drawdown on Metaplanet and others as well, like the Capital B or Sequans that we mentioned. All of them are down significantly now over the last month.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think maybe here it makes sense to quickly have a quick overview of some of our blue chip companies, right? So when you look at Strategy's MNAV sitting at 1.73 right now, or Metaplanet's at 2.21, Semler at 1.06, and Capital B at 4.21, they've been completely hammered compared to last time we actually showed these numbers, right? These MNAVs of these companies. So so you see that as you mentioned, the sentiment is down, but I think it's a great opportunity if you're planning to buy some to do so, right? But then on the other hand, you don't want to catch a falling knife. So up to you to make proper decisions and allocate appropriately. But I think the sentiment is shifting a little bit on X, at least from Monday's perspective, where I saw a lot of the bulls coming back out with some pretty intensive statements. So that's great. And maybe another thing to point out, talking about Metaplanet, is their new preferred shares that they're trying to bring out, right? So this was news from late last week. They're going to bring two new preferred shares, and maybe we can also mention that there's one that is more like I would say an STR F from Strategy, and the second one would be an STRK with the convertibility, right? And they haven't fixed the rates, but they seem to be aiming for a 6% rate, which is quite big in the Japanese market. And I think those, if they go through the shareholder meeting and they get approved, those are gonna make some waves in Japan. So so I'm very bullish on Metaplanet if they get those going, because suddenly they're gonna be able to raise a lot more capital to convert into Bitcoin, and I think it's just going to actually bring some revolution in Japan, really, like in terms of for the yield-starved investors, really.
Yeah, those prefers are very interesting, and as you said, they will probably get a lot of attention in Japan because the yield it will be lower than what strategy is offering with a maximum of 6%. But for the Japanese market, this is very high. So they might still get a lot of attention and a lot of capital flowing into Metaplanet through that. And this is an advantage for Metaplanet compared to strategy, because if they fix the yield at 6% maximum, their cost of issuing those preferreds is lower than strategies, right? And the pristine collateral they put on their balance sheet is the same one, right? So they have the upside of the Bitcoin, but they have less of the downside of the dividend payments compared to strategy, because they also issue it in a weaker currency. That's one, that it's appreciating faster than the dollar, and the yield they have to pay on it is lower because of the low interest environment in Japan. So it will be interesting to see how much they're able to offer and how quickly, because they're also in a different size than strategy, right? Metaplanet is more than an order of magnitude smaller in terms of market cap, but also their Bitcoin holdings. They hold 17,000 Bitcoin versus Strategy's 610. And but the preferred shares that they want to offer, they're in the same ballpark as Strategy, right? With the 3.6 billion of ATM that they want to do. I don't know if they have mentioned over which period of time they want to issue those. Have you seen anything?
No, not yet. I think it should be decided or after the shareholders meeting. I think it's on the 1st of September when they will decide to issue those, or be able to issue those preferred shares. So by then we should know more. But if those go through, regardless of some of the missing information we have, but I'm struggling to see how you can be bearish on Metaplanet right now with these coming up. And again, because they're perpetual, they will never have to give back the capital. Okay, there's some dividend that needs to be paid, but as you mentioned, it's fairly low, especially at the beginning when you don't have too many instruments out there. And yeah, this thing I think is going to be really, really big in Japan. When I look at the whole economic aspect from Japanese market point of view.
Yeah. I wonder how they will handle the leverage topic here, because we saw that was one other thing that was interesting out of the Strategy's earnings call, right? That Michael Saylor explained that they want to keep the 20 to 30% leverage ratio as long as they have the convertible bonds on their balance sheet. Once they get rid of those and they go only with the preferreds, he can think about going from 30 to up to 50% leverage ratio, because they, as you said, they're perpetual. They don't have to pay them back. The only liability is the dividend payment. So they can take more risk, basically, or take more leverage. And for Metaplanet, how is that going to work? Because the ATM issuances it's twice 3.6 billion. And their market cap currently is 4.6 billion. So it's almost twice their market cap that they're planning to issue.
Yeah.
So the question is, how quickly do they do that? And do they plan to get even higher leverage than Strategy?
I mean, that's a very good question, and we'll have to see once they come up with it. But I mean, as of right now, their debt to asset ratio is very low, around 6%, right? So they have room to grow really quickly and issue those preferred shares at a very rapid pace, at least at the beginning. And I think they also anticipate that with these preferred shares, there's going to be a spike again in their MNAV. They're going to be able to issue more shares, and obviously the equity part of their balance sheet will also grow very rapidly. Enabling them again to issue more preferred shares and so on. So I think they're betting big on this circle to happen, right? And I think it's the right move, and it's good that they have this opportunity to issue that many shares, because then they're prepared for a long time to be able to do that, and they don't have to go back to the shareholders meetings every quarter or every 6 months. Probably that's going to last, I expect, a bit longer than 6 months at least. So that's the thing, because I think in Japan you need to go through a shareholder meeting to be able to issue those preferred shares. So that's why they just went big with the two preferred shares they announced.
No, fascinating to see. And 1st of September, you said we should know.
I believe
if it
so.
goes
Yeah.
through.
I believe so. Yeah. And then I think there's also, related topic is the preferred shares from Semler as well, which should also go through around somewhere in September. So again, I think end of August and September will be big months for the Bitcoin treasury companies again, and hopefully have some pick up some steam for the last quarter of 2025.
One question on the Metaplanet preferreds. So they don't have fancy names for them like Strategy does. They just call them the Class A and Class B perpetual preferreds. And on the Class B, you're saying that there's a convertibility via options, so like strike, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what the strike price is?
No, we still don't know that. At least I didn't find anything.
Okay.
So if anybody in the knows, feel free to add it in the comments. All right. Anything to add? If not, we go to final thoughts.
Nothing to add.
All right. Yeah, maybe I start quickly with the final thoughts. So I'm actually as bullish as ever on the Bitcoin treasury companies. I know we see a lot of ups and downs. Friday was a tough day, even for me. Looking at my portfolio was a tough moment, especially after earnings, where there was quite some excitement, I think, before that, and we see it throughout X and other social medias, right? You just need to keep up having this long-term view, and with all the products that are coming out, like Metaplanets, there's Semler's preferred equity. You have some great guidance, in my opinion, from Strategy as well, and you have other Bitcoin treasury companies that are going to enter the field, as mentioned last time, right? You have the Strives, Nakamoto of these worlds that are going to start also gobbling up a lot of Bitcoin. So I think at least Q4 2025 looks very, very bright for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin treasury company sector.
Yeah, I agree. And to get back to Strategy, I think what we didn't mention is Stretch and how Stretch performed since it's been trading, right? And it also got hammered on Friday, and this was a bit concerning to me. It went back down to $94. And as a reminder, Stretch is the newest preferred that Strategy wants to hold between $99 and $101. It should be stable there, right? And it went to 94, but it is recovering as well, and it's up quite a bit now over the last trading days. And I think when it starts to hit the $100 mark is when Strategy will be able to issue more of those and then get back into buying Bitcoin. And I think we need to look out for that also to see how bullish can the market get short term as well, because the more they're able to just print Stretch to buy more Bitcoin, this will also be an accelerant for Bitcoin, but also for Strategy, because again, they're not issuing any more common stock, right? So as soon as they can start printing Stretch to buy more Bitcoin, it will be positive, most likely also for MSTR.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look out for that.
Yeah. Biggest speculative attack in financial history. We're witnessing that. So it's pretty amazing. All right. With that said, thanks a lot for listening, and see you on the next one. Cheers.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you next time.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?